Welcome, everyone, to Click Moments and Passionate Pursuits The Unfolding, where intuitively guided conversations are followed with feral faith, enthusiasm, and joy, bringing new insights, inspiration, and perspectives along the way. And today, we're your host, Beth Orr.
And Bridget Querns. Today
And
we're your
today,
hosts.
we're rooting for the Chiefs. Woo! And we've got more other than that, but we are here to root for the Chiefs today, aren't we,
And to
Bridget?
talk about a topic that dropped in this morning that stuck with me out of the blue.
Yep.
So I thought this was interesting. My kids let me sleep in this morning, and it was
A long time.
divine. It was divine. It was a long time. It was so good. And Beth says, I think you ought to cook them dinner for that. Or dinner, breakfast. Maybe I'll cook them dinner too. But the decision for breakfast was they love crepes. They love crepes. They've been on a kick. They don't want pancakes. They don't want waffles, although they also really like those. But they really wanted crepes, which, as we know, is a French breakfast food. So I thought I would be witty and send a picture of the crepes I was making to Beth and ask her in French if she could guess what I was making. So when I messaged her in French, can you guess what I'm making? Peux-tu deviner ce que je fais? Deviner, the word to guess, jumped out at me. And I was like, oh, this is really interesting. In
Mm,
English, we some words that we may use for the same term to guess would be divine. Like, can you divine the meaning of this symbol? And in French, deviner means to guess or to figure out. But it jumped out at me because I was like, oh, this is really interesting because it appears that this has the same root word as divine, like godlike or from spirit.
mm.
And what is the implication of that?
What is the implication to that of that to you?
Well, it's just fascinating to me that when we talk about something as being divine, like divinely inspired or divinely guided, that somewhere along the way, someone who was playing with language thought that that has the same feel as prediction, as looking into the future and pulling something out of it. So, what is it about seeing into the future that feels so divinely connected, so spiritual to us? Because really, if we talk about oh, this person can see the future, or they're psychic, or they can predict things. It's always got a spiritual tone to it.
Mm,
We're almost
hmm.
never talking about that. Oh, yes, this woman who lives on the corner, she predicts the future all the time, as if it's a commonplace thing. It's always got a spiritual current to it. So I don't know why this jumped out at me, but I do feel like there's something like a nugget to be mined here out of this.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it brought up a lot of things for me as you were talking about it because I was like, I like how there's something magical about it. Like it's almost like so when we think about like predicting or guessing, it means it's kind of confusing. Like we don't know something. So I
Mm,
like that there's some element of to predict or guess says there's an unknowing. And the unknowing, since it's divine, it's all unclear, right? It's seemingly magical because there's no shape to it. There's no earthly shape to it,
oh,
right?
interesting.
Yeah.
There's no earthly shape to it. So it's like an idea that hasn't yet been embodied. It's like a
Hmm.
spirit that hasn't yet taken on form. But the
Hmm.
cool thing about that is that it already exists.
Yes.
It just hasn't yet birthed itself on this specific plane of existence?
And does it have to?
Oh,
I mean, it's just as valid to be invisible as it is to be visible. It's just two different experiences, and honestly, aren't they like polar opposites? Like to be visible and invisible, but it's like almost like the yin and the yang of
hmm.
you know what I'm saying? Like there to
Yeah.
have something that's visible, it's only visible because there's invisible. It's the contrast, right?
There's a thought that's taking shape for me.
Hmm. Well, as you're allowing that to take space, like, but think about that shift, like that when something when when you don't have to predict or guess when it has form because you can see it.
Hmm.
So it is what it is. So if it's a horse, it's a horse. It's got form. It's matter that has form, right? But there can be something when it's something that's divine, the implication is that it's not clear, that it's ambiguous. You have to guess. This is so cool because it means when something is invisible, you have to predict and guess, but then there are things with form that are divine, and you still have to guess or predict. So whether it's form or not form, you can still be considered to be divine, but it shows you the ambiguity or the lack of certainty that comes with divinity. That
What if,
it's always expanding.
mm,
So you can't always know because knowing suggests static,
what if
right?
that which is divine can't be formulated, you can't put form around it because to do that would be to make it crude.
Mm.
Like people who talk about having an experience with the divine often don't talk about it. They'll be able to tell you that they had an experience,
Mhm.
but the proper language for what occurred doesn't exist. And to even try to encapsulate it would be to lose the essence of the whole experience. So I love that when we call something unknown divine, we're allowing it just to remain unknown and indescribable. And the only thing we can do is guess at it because unless we've had that firsthand experience, there's no way someone else can bring that experience to us. It's like the language and the quality of this place doesn't allow something so pure and so essential to get distilled down into this space.
Okay. What if it's not supposed to be distilled down into that space, but it's solely meant for us to give language to it, to try to describe it so that it can be something that somebody recognizes when it happens, but it's not to transfer the experience. So describe a divine experience, I'm not trying to get you to understand it. I'm not even trying to get you to experience it. I'm just helping you become aware. Hey, this is a thing. Have you heard of this? Or this was my experience. So I'm like, and every time you do that or somebody else does that, it helps me make sense of it, but it's not for me meant to say, oh, I know that. It's more like, ooh, I wonder if I could experience that. I wonder, like, or when I have experienced something and I don't have language for it yet, I'm like, ooh, that, that's what that was that I felt. And so it's meant to help me recognize it and
Mm,
feel a sense of validation,
hmm.
which it can be extremely um, lonely or disorienting to have an experience that you don't think anybody else has had.
Yeah.
So there's something too that when somebody else has experienced it and it seems similar, it's comforting. It's also interesting. I want to lean in.
Hmm. I had this whole while you were talking about that, I was seeing like this forest, right? Like you like to hike. We love hiking. I was seeing this forest, like this divine unknown forest, this unexplored vast wilderness space. And I think what we're doing by putting language to our experiences is like crafting a trail for someone.
Yes.
Like you can take a trail through this forest that someone else has walked, and you can get glimpses, but there's so much that's unexplored and unknown still. But it's like an invitation.
Yeah, in this world where people often won't move forward without understanding the path. When you share something that's your divine experience, it makes it gives them a prediction. It allows them to guess so that when they're going out into their metaphorical wilderness, that they can kind of have a sense of what to anticipate. Oh,
Mm,
this was your divine experience? Like it tells me the qualities of what to expect, right? It tells
yeah,
me,
yeah.
it gives me some, like if you describe, well, it turned to crap midway through. But then I climbed out and it was a beautiful experience. Well, then when I'm on my path and it turns to crap, I'm like, we're going up from here. You've given me a prediction. I can guess what's going to happen. It's much like, um, Maureen Meir with the heroine's journey and Joseph Campbell with the hero's journey. They basically give us frameworks for what we can expect on our journey. It doesn't mean it's going to be exactly the same, but it does say you can predict or guess. These are what other people who've gone to had divine experiences have experienced. And so biblical stories are some avenues
Hmm.
and potentials. Spiritual stories that we hear from so many people now are other avenues. We're being The scope of our understanding of what is a spiritual experience is growing.
Hmm.
And so this divinity, when somebody self-identifies something or we see something as divine, to me, it makes it less scary or less concerning to move forward with just the natural unpredictability of being human.
Mm. I love that. The natural unpredictability of being human.
Mm, yeah, true.
I heard someone say in a podcast I was listening to recently, um, if you're on your path and the way seems clear, it's probably not the right path because someone's already walked it.
Yeah.
And then I thought about it and I thought, wow, that's interesting because anytime I know I'm on the right path, a quality of it that usually appears to me is that I really have no idea where I'm heading. I just know I trust the feeling of being on the right path. And I'll get these little um, cosmic breadcrumbs, like I talk about, where I have moments, and you call them click moments, where it just appears to me that everything in that moment is perfectly lined up and totally right. And even though I have
Mhm.
no idea where the next moment is taking me, I know that that moment is telling me you're in the right place.
Yeah. Yeah. There is there's a divinity to a click moment or the quality of what you're talking about. Like there's a divinity to it in the, again, it's almost like a bunch of facts or a bunch of knowings got together in this invisible world, and they were like going along, and then all of a sudden something clicked within me,
Hmm.
but sure didn't know all those little things were swimming along to create this new experience or understanding. So there's a certain quality of like excitement with it because it's like, oh wow, I didn't see that coming. There's like these divine moments have a certain, because it's unpredictable, but it's okay, and you know it's okay, and you know
Hmm.
it's going to be okay. These moments also have like, ooh, I can only guess and I can only predict, but it still feels remarkably okay and safe. In fact, assuredly safe. Isn't that
Yeah.
interesting?
Yes.
That something so unclear can and elusive
Hmm.
can be so certain and so safe just based on a feeling that it has. Like it's because it's a quality of divinity. Interesting.
It is interesting. I'd love to know if this conversation sparked anything for people who are watching or listening,
Mm,
because I do feel like this really was such an intuitively guided topic. I mean, we had to run with the nudge of we have one word and there's something special about this word, and we really don't know where we're going with it, but we're just going to go with it and
follow it.
follow the flow. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I would say. A part of what this is sometimes you just have a word, and when you know it's something, when you said it, I just knew it was right. So sometimes when you're responding to something that feels divine, you can only predict or guess that it's going to have a positive impact in some way that is beyond our knowing. Not everything is for us, but I've had a
Yeah.
lovely time talking about it, and it's been an interesting conversation, and that's my gift.
Right.
And so it carries its own life beyond to other people, and it becomes divine in and of its own way
Hmm.
within you, given your unique lens.
Yeah.
But thank you for following your nudge to share the word.
Yeah. Thanks for trusting the unfolding.
Yeah, always.
And a special thanks to Asheville artist Melissa Moss for our cover art. You can learn more about her at melissamossart.com. And thank you to Cloud Cult for our intro and outro music from their song There's So Much Energy in Us. You can learn more about them at cloudcult.com. And to all of our listeners and viewers, thank you for being here. We wish you peace, love, and light.